Hari Om, greetings and salutations, dear devotees. My name is Isha Dilraj, and it is once again my humble pleasure to welcome you to the final evening of Gita Week Discourses by Sri Angajan. We would like to thank the officials and devotees of the Anshlanga Hindu Society, the Gujarati Hindu Sanskruti Kendra, the Sri Gopalal Temple, the Vishwarup Temple, and Dharamshala. The past week has truly been so blissful, inspiring, and invigorating as we embarked on a journey to unpack the yoga of devotion with Angajanji. From daily lessons for happy and stress-free living to understanding the true essence of prayer and delving into the qualities that make a great bhakta, Angajanji has so masterfully, beautifully, and simply translated the deeper meaning within each of the verses discussed from the Bhagavad Gita to help us understand the lessons so we can practice and apply the teachings to live a happier and peaceful life. As someone who has grown up with Sri Angajanji's teachings from a young child, interacting with and learning from Angajanji's discourses, youth development workshops, and personal conversations, and also listening to the CDs, DVDs, and reading Angajanji's books, I can truly attest to how blessed we are to receive this wisdom in such an inspiring, motivational, dynamic, and practical manner. Dear devotees, we are truly so fortunate to benefit from Angajanji's wisdom and narrative of the timeless lessons from the Bhagavad Gita. And as per the divine tradition of Guru Shishya Parampara, Guru-disciple lineage, we have an indebtedness to our gurus to offer Guru Dakshina so that the flow of this knowledge can be maintained for future generations. To show our deep appreciation and gratitude for the time and effort that has been so selflessly devoted by Angajanji, we ask that you reciprocate Guru Dakshina with voluntary expressions of gratitude via kind cash donations to the Life Mastery Foundation. Your donations will greatly help the foundation and Sri Angajanji to propagate this knowledge and will be used for further dissemination of spiritual knowledge to impact many lives around the world. All details are displayed on the screen for your convenience. Without further ado, I now welcome Sri Angajanji to continue imparting the beautiful and divine lessons to us. Thank you.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastuma Vidvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. Please join us in chanting the verses from 11 to 20 of the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita.
Advaitadapyashattosi kartum madhyogamaśritah sarva karma
Phala tyagam tatah Kuru yatatmavan Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat
Jnanadhyanam vishishyate Dhyanat
karma phala
tyagaha
Tyagat shantiranantaram Adveshta sarvabhutanam Maitra karuna evacha
Nirmamo nirahankaraha Samadukha sukhakshami Santushta satatam yogi Yathatma drida nishchayaha Mayyarpitamano buddhihi Yo madbhakta same priyaha Yasmano dvijate lokaha Lokano dvijate chayah Harshamarshbhayodvaigaihi Mukto yat sacha me priyah Anapeksha shuchirdakshaha Udasino gatavyatah Sarvarambha parityagi Yo madbhakta same priyah Yo na hrishyati na dveshti Na shochati na kamshati Shubha shubha parityagi Bhaktimanyah same priyah Sama shatrau cha mitre cha Tatha manapamanayoho Shitoshna sukha dukkeshu Sama sanga vivarjitaha Tulya nindastutir mauni Santushto yena kenachit Aniketat stiramatihi Bhaktiman me priyo naraha Ye tu dharmyamritamidam Yathoktam paryupasate Shraddhadhanamat paramaha Bhaktastetiva me priyaha Om Tat Sada Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Supanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Bhakti Yogo Nama Dvadashodhyayaha
One of the big problems in studying the Bhagavad Gita or any shastras or scriptures for that matter is that most people suffer from no time syndrome. Very difficult to find a person has got a priority right. Most people have got a distorted priority. They do not make time for something that is very important for their peace and happiness, like exercise, yoga, pranayama, spending adequate amount of time for the family, study of the scriptures, that gives you that serenity, self-confidence, self-belief. These are some of the non-negotiable routines one ought to have almost every day. But the problem is that everybody suffers from no time syndrome. When you say no time, it is actually an imagination that you don't have time. You have time, but you don't know how to organize it. If you look at our time, we have how many? 168 hours a week. Of those 168 hours a week, you spend about 40 hours or so at work, doing your work, job, profession, business, etc. And out of that balance of 128 hours, about 49 hours or so you would be spending on sleep, assuming an average person would sleep about 7 hours. And let's say if you are one of those fitness freak, you would be spending probably about 5 to 7 hours a week on your fitness, on your exercise. That is, those who do exercise. About 5 hours or so you could be spending on eating, and add another 7 hours for your traveling. If you put all these things that you do every week together, it only comes to about 108 hours a week. Now the question is, what happened to the rest of the 60 hours? We don't know. Most people are not able to account for that amount of time. What I'm trying to say is that there is no such thing as there's no such thing as no time. When you say no time, it simply means it is not your priority. If somebody says he or she couldn't see you because he or she was so busy, which simply means you're not their priority. That's all it means. If they make a priority, they will find time to attend to or to meet you. So you got to liberate yourself from this distorted priority. That is what I would call time freedom. Most people don't have time freedom. They are not a master of time. As a result, they are not able to set aside time for things that they really things that add value to their life, things that they're really passionate about. They don't have time for all that. The reality is that in your busy life or business, profession, or whatever else that you do, you will find it difficult to study Bhagavad Gita, to study Vedanta. But if you study Vedanta, it makes your busy life easier. It is a paradox. In your busy life, studying the scriptures, studying the Shastras become difficult. But if you study the Shastra, you'll find your busy life, difficult life become easy. But our mind is so preoccupied. So when you say those 60 hours, if you actually analyze, where does it go? A lot of it goes into your worries and anxieties. If you actually analyze your life, from, let's say, a day, from the time you wake up till you retire. Even when you're working, do you realize how much of time you are losing by daydreaming, by getting caught up in worries and anxieties, regrets of the past? Your mind keep thinking about regrets of the past and then anxieties of the future. Your mind hardly lives in the present. If your mind is not in the present, you're not living. That's as good as you're not working. A company in America called salary.com has done a survey to find out how many hours an average person works in a workplace. Although you are physically there for 8 hours, your mental presence at work is about 2 hours. Rest of the time, your mind is wandering in all direction, number one. During working time, you make your personal phone calls, personal communications, emails, going for your errands during working time. Among all the distraction, lack of concentration is considered to be the highest consumer of time in your workplace. And that happens in your life in general. So it's so crucial for you to prioritize. That's the only way for you to ultimately liberate yourself from the stress, worries, and anxieties that consume your life. We are so preoccupied. When you were a child, you said you're too young to learn Bhagavad Gita. Obviously, understandable. But when you are a youth, you find yourself too proudy to learn Bhagavad Gita. You feel, I don't need it. Shankaracharya calls this Yauvana Garvam, that is the pride of youth. They don't find the need. It's a dangerous mindset when you go through that pride of youth. So when you're youth, you're so too proud to learn Bhagavad Gita. When you're married, you're too happy to learn Bhagavad Gita. When you're in the business, you're much too busy to learn Bhagavad Gita. And when you're old, you feel too tired to learn Bhagavad Gita. And fag end of our life, when you are really about to die, become too late to learn Bhagavad Gita. Our mind gets so preoccupied with everything else except our priority. Just as our physical body needs nutrition, so does our mind, our soul. So when you study the Bhagavad Gita, you are actually vaccinating your soul against certain emotional infection. The spiritual knowledge is actually nutrition for your mind, nutrition for your intellect, nutrition for your soul. Today, people are so focused upon the physical body, they only talk about nutrition for the body. And you find a person who regularly, almost every day, he goes to gym, exercise, does workout, etc. Still you find them going through anxiety, depression, stress, and all kinds of mental ill health. Mental ill health across the world is a huge tragedy because we have been unduly spending too much of time focusing only upon the body or nutrition for the body. We have totally ignored nutrition for our soul, nutrition for our mind. And when mind, your soul lack nutrition, the symptom is stress, anxiety, fear, envy, and all these kind of emotions. The only antidote is your investment of time in spiritual activities. But then we don't have time. When you invest time, what happens is it makes the two impact. Number one, it makes your mind calm. Number two, it makes your intellect clear. We get so preoccupied that, as a child, let's put it this way, as a human being, as a man, you have 5 stages of a man. A man goes, there are 5 men or 5 men in a man. Let's put it that way. The first man is Spider-Man. When you finish your college, get a job, all right, you brought your new car and you run around so busy, you drive around like a spider, running from one place to the other. Preoccupied. And then you become a Superman. And when do you become a Superman? When you meet that girl. When you find that lady love, you fall in love and you feel that you're right on top of the world. You're Superman. You got your girl of your choice. All right. And then courting time, you're a gentleman. You treat us so nicely, and your would-be in-laws also so well, so nicely, gentlemen. And then once you get married, you become a watchman, only protecting the family. And once you become a parent, you become a Doberman, running after the child like a dog run after the master. This is what our preoccupation is. We don't have that priority right. We're getting carried away. You got to remember, time is psychological. In order to find time, you got to program your mind. Otherwise, you will find yourself, you imagine you're so busy. So the 35 qualities, like I mentioned to you yesterday, it might overwhelm you. Why so many 35 of them? You don't have to worry about all these 35 qualities. You find those qualities that really captured your imagination. Those virtues among these 35 that really went through and through. There may be a few. You identify that. And you work on it, and you'll find every other virtues becomes a part of it. In physics, there is a law. It is called Pascal's law, all right? Pascal's law is that water seeks its own level, and water rises collectively. Water finds its own level, and water rises collectively. It is the law that we learned in physics by Blaise Pascal, all right? Similarly, these virtues find its own level and it rises collectively. You focus upon a few virtues, you'll find all the other virtues rising in your mind collectively. So Bhagavan Krishna discussed yesterday, yesterday we discussed Krishna's exposition of 21 virtues. Udasina, one who's unconcerned. Gatavyataha, meaning one who's untroubled, not troubled by the fluctuations. The worldly challenges will always be there, simply because the world is a combination of good and bad. There can never be 100% good world. There can never be 100% world. The only perfection you can find is within your own self. As a result, a bhakta understands there are challenges, but he doesn't pay undue, mental energy upon those things. Udasina, unconcerned about the fluctuations, unconcerned about other people's opinion. Most people are dependent upon other people's opinion, and they change their thinking and action based on what other people say and what other people think. Once, there was a father and son traveling from village to village selling whatever produce that they had, fresh produce. So they used to carry the produce, along with a donkey, a couple of donkeys. So as they were traveling, all right, they used to ride on the donkey. So when they came to the first village, the villagers complained how cruel these people are. Look at the donkeys. They're so tired. They're riding on the donkey. And they heard their opinion, their suggestion, and they thought, it's true. We can't be cruel to the donkey. So they got off the donkey and they started walking. And when they came to the next villager said, how stupid these people are. They have 2 donkeys to ride and they are walking, not utilizing the donkey. And when they came to the third village, all right, the villagers complained. What did they say? That these people are still useless. They don't ride the donkey. They don't walk on the donkey. All right, they started carrying the donkey because the donkey is so tired. So the point is that whatever you do, there will always be somebody commenting something bad, something negative. If you are dependent upon other people's comments and opinion, yes, you got to respect other people's feedback, of course, but not dependent upon other people's opinion. Udasina. And then he says, Sarvaramba Parityagi, renouncing all good and evil, renouncing all undertaking rather. A bhakta doesn't believe that whatever he does is his own making. He understands that what he does is only an addition. See, the world has been going on. Nobody can start anything. We can only contribute to what is already existing. And then he continues the discussion in the 17th verse. Let's see what he says.
Yo na hrishyati na dveshti.
Yo na hrishyati na dveshti.
Na shochati na kamshati.
Na shochati na kamshati.
Shubha shubha parityagi.
Shubha shubha parityagi.
Bhaktimanyah same priyah. Bhaktimanyah same priyah.
The 22nd virtue of a devotee of God, he says, is yona hrashyati. He who does not rejoice, one who does not get excited about good things that are happening. Yet everybody talk about, I'm excited. He says, he who's neither rejoices nor doesn't get excited, nor hates, not dveshti, nor grieves. He doesn't regret. Shochati. Shoka means regret. One who does not regret. Na kamshati. Does not desire things that he doesn't deserve. Renouncing good and evil. Shubha, ashubha parityagi. Renouncing good and evil. He who is full of devotion is dear to me. Bhaktiman. Bhaktiman is one who's imbued with a lot of devotion, love, gratitude, surrender, humility. That person is dear to me. He who neither rejoices nor hates, nor grieves nor desires, renouncing good and evil, he who's full of devotion is dear to me. Who is dear to God? Bhagavan Krishna continues the discussion. He says, he who neither rejoices, meaning excitement, happy, contentment, calm pleasures is okay. Oliver Goldsmith says an ideal mindset is one who enjoys the calm pleasures and majestic pain. When the pain comes, he accepts it so gracefully. When the pleasure comes, calm pleasures. That is the sign of a matured mind. Otherwise, an immature mind gets excited about everything. Going for holiday, excitement. If you actually see an exciting experience like going for holiday, there are 4 E's: excitement, entertainment, exhaustion, and expenses. That's it. Preparing for holiday or going for holiday, it is excitement. You're driving to the airport, especially post-COVID, when everybody is locked down for 2 years. Some people are really, really waiting. They can't wait to travel. Rightly so, because they've been locked up for a good couple of years. And once the borders are open, you can travel, you're vaccinated, etc. Great excitement. And then you drive to the airport. And then you reach the destination. You're so excited. Entertainment. You packed your days. You go to some interesting places. So right from early morning, you don't want to miss anything that is in that particular city that you're going or country. Pack yourself. You entertainment. And then after 2 weeks of very busy, tiring holiday, you come back exhausted. And they need a few days to relax from the holiday. And then comes your expenses. Credit card statement comes. So much of expense. That's what happened. Is that a holiday? Na hrishyati, one who is not excited. Na dveshti, one who does not hate. As we discussed earlier, dvesha is that resentment, inner dislike of situation or duty to do. The resentment, you have to do what you ought to do. You have to work with people that you have no choice. Don't do what you need to do with an inner resentment or dislike. And then he says, no grief, na shochati. Regret. Regrets of the past is one of the powerful consumers of your mental energy. If you have a regretful mind, doesn't matter what you do, anything you do, you regret. Doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with whether you have done the right thing or not. If you have a regretful mind, you do one thing, you regret. If you do something else, then also you regret. You buy a car, you regret. Because if you waited for a month or 2, you would have got the latest updated model. You sell the car, you regret. If you waited, you would have got a better price. Those people who did not get married regret by not getting married. Those who got married also regret for getting married. Those people who have taken up a business, they say, I wish I had taken up a job. I only have to work from 8 to 4. Thereafter, I have free. Those people who have taken up a job says, I wish I started my own business. I am my own boss. Whatever actions they do, they regret. It is a disease of the mind to be regretting. Once there was a Mahatma, a saint, sadhu. He was traveling from village to village seeking bhiksha, that is alms, with a group of his disciples. Very wise man indeed. As they were traveling, they came to a riverbed. They need to cross the river. The master called the children. Children, come here. Can you see plenty of sand around on the riverbed? The children looked around. Yes, there is plenty of sand. And the master gave each one of them a piece of paper and gave this instruction. The instruction was, all of you can carry some sand and put it in the paper and wrap it. You don't have to. The choice is yours. You have a choice to carry the sand or don't carry the sand. And the instruction continued. The master said, but remember, if you carry the sand, you will regret. If you don't carry the sand, then also you will regret. Either way, you will regret. The children were confused. They were looking at each other. What is he talking about? But anyway, some of them obeyed the master's instruction and decided to grab a little bit of sand, put in the paper and wrapped it and put it in their pocket. And some of them thought, I don't think it makes sense to carry some sand. They didn't. Anyway, all of them crossed the river, continued their journey. Having traveled for about an hour or so, the master called the children, all of you come here. Now, those of you who have carried the sand, open your wrap and see what has happened. When they opened the wrap, they found the sand turned into pure gold powder. Miracle, as it were, turned into pure gold powder. And when they saw that it turned into gold powder, those children who did not, those disciples who did not carry the sand, regretted why they didn't carry. Those children who carried the sand also regretted why they didn't carry more sand. This is the nature of the regretful mind. It has nothing to do with whether you have done the right thing or not. Even if you have done the right thing, it will regret. A bhakta, a devotee of God, understand, I get what I deserve. So he accepted gracefully. Now, shochati, doesn't grieve, doesn't regret, nor desires. The problem is we keep looking at the other people and look what they have, and we develop a desire for what, just because other people have got it. What other people enjoy may not be what we deserve. A bhakta, a devotee of God, does not desire what he doesn't deserve. Yes, he sets up a goal, a mission, and work hard towards it, but he doesn't get attached or obsessed with the result or reward. Nor grief, nor desires, and renouncing good and evil. Shubha, ashubha, parityagi. How does this quality come? That ability to renounce good and evil. By understanding that what we think evil today can end up becoming something fortunate. What is a challenge today, much later, you connect the dot and say, my God, what I thought was a tragedy was a stepping stone to success. Or what you lost is not necessarily bad. Bible says, judge not others, resist not evil. When problems comes, understand that very often a small problem that you encounter can save you from a bigger danger. A small difficulty can save you from a bigger danger, or what you thought is a gain now can be a challenge later. Supposing you're driving from your city to a neighboring city, let's say a five hours drive, or longer than 10 hours drive. And because it is a long drive, you took your vehicle to the mechanic and asked him to check up and ensure that everything is in order. Relatively older vehicle. The mechanic checked everything and certified it's good to go. Next day, early morning, you leave, torrential rain, few kilometers away from your house, your car breaks down and it's heavy rain. Obviously, in that situation, you will perhaps curse the mechanic who checked everything and he certified everything is okay. Look what happened. You're stuck on the road. You're blissfully unaware. Probably 20 kilometers down the road, in the torrential rain, the bridge has already washed off and you can only see water and still not bright light. The fact that the car broke down perhaps saved your life. So when problem comes, understand that you don't know what is in store. Similarly, when fortune comes, don't take it for granted. There was a true story. This happened about 30 years ago in Bangalore. Two brothers. They were fighting for a building, an old ancestral building, which is about 70, 80 years old. It was a dispute. This dispute went on for about 5 years. And eventually, the older brother won the case and he got the property. And obviously, he celebrated the victory against his own younger brother. And they moved in. Until then, there was a stay order. Nobody occupied the place. And once he won the case, he celebrated and he moved in the house, lived there with the family. 18 months later, the whole building collapsed. The whole family buried. What they thought was a victory is actually a problem. When your car broke down, what you thought actually a trouble saved your life. So therefore, a bhakta understands that a true wise man doesn't look at a challenge on its own. He looks at a broader scheme of things. That ability is true wisdom. Shubha, Ashubha Parityagi, Bhaktiman. He who's full of devotion is dear to me, says Bhagavan Krishna. Devotion is when you understand that problem, don't take everything for granted. From a bigger scheme of things, from a totality point of view, what you thought is a blessing or curse, it's not the way it appears to be. Very different. He who's full of devotion with this wisdom, he is dear to me, says Bhagavan Krishna. He who neither rejoices nor hates, nor grieves nor desires, renouncing good and evil, he who is full of devotion, says Krishna, dear to me. And then he continues in the 18th verse.
Sama shatrau cha mitre cha.
Shama shatrau cha mitre cha.
Tathamanaapamanayoh. Tathamanaapamanayoh. Shitoshna sukha dukkeshu.
Shitoshna sukha dukkeshu.
Sama sangha vivarjitaha. Sama sangha vivarjitaha.
He continues the discussion on the virtues of a devotee of God. He says, Sama shatrau cha mitrecha, alike to friend and foe, and also in honor and dishonor, alike to equal, alike to heat and cold, in pleasure and pain, free from attachment. A devotee is one, a bhakta is one who has transcended the pairs of opposites at all levels of your personality. At the physical level, he talks about Shita and Ushna. Shita means cold, Ushna means heat. Pairs of opposite at the physical level, heat and cold. At the emotional level, at the mental level, pleasure and pain. At the level of intellect, friend and foe. At the level of ego, honor and dishonor. These are the pairs of opposite that we are affected, tortured, buffeted by. A bhakta, a devotee, he has transcended. He understands. He doesn't become a victim to his or her own likes and dislikes. Why? Because a devotee understands what you like is not necessarily what is good for you. All right, devotee transcends these likes and dislikes. What you like is not necessarily what is good for you, and what is really good for you, you don't like it. This is the problem with our mind. That is why in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, entitled Karma Yoga, Lord Krishna says, your worst enemy is your own likes and dislikes. Likes. And that's what we are continuously pampering. What you like is not necessarily good for you. Further, when you are a victim of your own likes and dislikes, you don't appreciate the blessings of what you have. You don't look at the blessing what you have. You look at something other than what you have. As the saying goes, grass is always greener on the other side. You heard that expression, isn't it? Grass is always greener on the other side. We don't look at what we have, something else. Whether it is your job, whether it is your body, whether it is your partner, whether it is food, whether it is your house that you have, we always look at something other than what we have and say, I wish I had that. We don't appreciate it. There are people who have got a very cushy, lovely, well-paid job, easy job, but they look at somebody else and say, I wish I had a job there. Not realizing people in that business looking at your job and say, I wish I had your job. Raga dvesha. What you like, raga means likes, dvesha means dislikes. It doesn't allow you to appreciate the blessings. It makes you forget your blessings. That is the nature of the likes and dislikes. Therefore, Krishna says, it is shatru. Shatru means foe. Vairi means enemy. Nitya vairi, perpetual enemy. These are all the words that Krishna uses in the Bhagavad Gita. Ragadvesha. He is alike, equal to friend and foe. Now, how can a devotee be equal to foe? Because a devotee understands, a true devotee understands, the worst enemy is enemies in the form of your own thoughts. The worst enemy outside cannot hurt you as much as the negative thoughts inside you. It is a fact. The truth is that no enemies outside can hurt you as much as your own hatred, jealousy, anger, and all those negative emotions. So a devotee guards his mind against inimical thoughts rather than enemies outside. Therefore, and he also doesn't get attached to preferential friends, what they call as best friend. Bhakta understand a best friend can become a worst enemy in few days or few weeks or few months time. And whom you thought is your worst enemy is the one who's actually coming and helping you in the need of hour. So he's objective, alike to friend and foe, honor and dishonor. When somebody honor you, you get elated. When somebody insult you, you get depressed. Whether it is honor or dishonor, it's simply other people's opinion. That's all that is. What other people think about you. A bhakta assess oneself, understand and accept it. If somebody puts him above or below, he understands that he's making a mistake. Ego is something that get really, really flattered by good comment or good opinion or good feedback. Honor and dishonor is equal. Doesn't mean to say that you don't accept other people's comment, other people's feedback or opinion. Of course you can. But if you are dependent upon other people's opinion for your inner happiness, that's a dangerous sign. Alike to honor and dishonor. Alike to heat and cold at the physical level. He feels the heat, he feels the cold, but he understands that nature has to be that way. There cannot be only cold weather. There cannot be only warm weather. It has to fluctuate. Few days it's warm weather, suddenly it's extremely cold, and again it'll go back to normal pleasant weather. Is your mind is fluctuating depending upon the weather? A bhakta, a devotee, carries eternal summer in his soul. Eternally pleasant weather in his own soul. As a result, external fluctuations in the outside world doesn't make a difference. Alike to heat and cold, in pleasure and pain. Alike to pleasure and pain, the joys and sorrows. What is pleasurable now, little later becomes displeasurable. A food that you enjoy today, if you keep eating for a while, eventually you don't like it. You get fed up of it. And then he says, samasanga vivarjitaha, one who's free from attachment. Attachment is a disease of the human mind. Attachment is a mental bondage. Mentally binding yourself to a person or a thing or being. Attachment. The problem is, the world doesn't seem to realize the deadly effect of attachment. When you are attached to something, number one, it creates mental agitation. It creates anxiety. Whatever that you love so dearly will give you maximum pain sooner or later. When something from the world, it could be your family member, it could be a material possession, could be anything. When something gives you pleasure, you get attached to it, seeking more pleasures. Sooner or later, it can put you into a very difficult, painful situation. Number one. Attachment creates mental agitation. Attachment causes pain because you're bound to experience the pain of loss sooner or later. Number two, when you're attached to something, when you are uncontrollably possessive, attached to an object or being, you can lose that being or you can lose that object. Attach, you lose. That's the law of life. Mind has a tendency to get obsessed, attached. That is why mind is compared to monkeys. Monkeys have got two characteristics. One is the restless nature of the mind of the monkey. Monkey cannot stay quiet. The second aspect is monkeys are very possessive animal. They cling on to their little ones. Even if the baby monkey dies, even if the infant dies, the monkey clings on to the carcass. The worms, the maggot eats up the carcass, still doesn't give up. And once the maggot begins to eat the body of the mother monkey, feels the pain, only then it releases it. Until then it clings on. Similarly, our mind, a lot of things that we don't need, we cling on to and store it, thinking that maybe we will use it later. If you don't believe, go and open your wardrobe and see how many clothes are lying there that you did not use for the last 1 year. I'm not talking about summer weather, the clothes only, or probably more than 1 year. You may not have used for several years. Still, you think it, maybe you will use it. If you did not use it for 1 year, you'll never use it. You don't need it. There are so many other things, possessions in the household. We store it in the attic, thinking that maybe someday we will use it, but we'll never get to use it. That's the nature of the mind. It clings on. Maybe I'll use it. Free from attachment. You believe you are holding on, but the truth is that that is possessing you. To the extent you possess and obsess something, to that extent, that very object will possess and obsess you. That's the law of life. If you are uncontrollably possessed and obsessed with something, to that extent, that very same object will possess and obsess you. A man was holding on to a donkey and he was grazing the donkey, the farm. A passerby happened to ask him, whose donkey is this? And the man said, my donkey, I'm holding the donkey. Oh, is that so? And the passerby had a scissor and he came and snapped the rope. And the donkey started running and the man was running after the donkey. So the question is, does donkey belong to you or you belong to the donkey? Actually, the other way, you belong to the donkey. We realized that only when the rope was snapped. Whether you possessed and obsessed with your car, the truth is that car possesses you. Car controls you. You believe you possess money, but you are possessed by the money. When you're possessed by the money, that is when you experience stress, anxiety, mental agitation, agony. Similarly, you believe you possess the business possesses you. Free from attachment. You lose the object of enjoyment. Alike to friend and foe, honor and dishonor, alike to heat and cold, in pleasure and pain, free from attachment. And then he continues the discussion. Tulyanindastutirmauni.
Santushto yena kenachit. Santushto yena kenachit. Aniketastiramatihi. Aniketastiramatihi. Bhaktiman me priyo naraha. Bhaktiman me priyo naraha.
Tulyanindastuti. That is, to whom censure and praise are equal. A bhakta is one to whom somebody criticizes, somebody praise are equal. Silent, mauni. Santushto yena kenachit, meaning content with anything. Aniketa, aniketa means homeless. Stiramatihi, steady-minded. Full of devotion. Bhaktiman me priyo naraha. He who is full of devotion is dear to me among men. Naraha means that person, among those people with full of devotion is dear to God, he says. Who is that? to whom censure and praise are equal. Whether somebody criticize or condemn, he understands that it is simply other people's perception. When somebody criticizes you, in fact, some people their mind is so programmed to criticize anything, even good thing. You go for a wedding and you enjoy the hospitality. You ate every dish that is served, and you ate to your fullest. And as you're driving back, you criticize, you tell your family, the food wasn't so good, eh? Or you focus upon the negative things. Some people are trained to focus upon the negative aspect of it. Can you be concerned about it? You know, once there was a man, he got a gift, a unique dog. What is unique about the dog was the dog can walk on water. All right. So he was a hunter. He would shoot birds and he would get the dog to go and pick up from the water. That was his hobby. So one day he called his friend and said, hey, I've got I want you to come and see what I'm doing. So he wanted to show off his new possession, his dog. And he took him when he was going to go for hunting, shooting birds. And he shot many birds. And the dog walked on water and picked up all the birds. And he couldn't get any comment, any appreciation from the friend. He was actually expecting, some positive comment about the unique dog that he's got, which they can walk on water. And as they were going back, he asked the friend, hey, don't you have anything to say about the dog? That can, about my dog. And the friend said, yeah, I see that your dog cannot swim. He only focused upon the negative side, censure, criticism. To whom censure and praise are equal. Some people praise you, some people criticize you. Remember, you are not meant for everybody. Whatever you do, not everybody in the world need not appreciate you. It's a fact. Some people appreciate you, some people criticize you. If you are moved by other people's opinions and criticism, it's a weakness of your mind. That is what you got. It's not about what other people are doing. To whom censure and praise are equal. It's a weakness. If you are affected by other people's praise, a weak state of mind, you can easily fall for flattery, and you can be taken for a ride by the flatterers. There are some clever, cunning people out there who boost your ego and flatter you and get things done if you're affected. All right. To whom censure and praise are equal. All right. And then he says, silent mauni. Maunam, silent, doesn't mean not talking. The silent, the mauni that he's talking about is the state of mind where the mind is not gurgling with a lot of desires. The mind is silent. You could be practicing Mauna Vratam, silent vow, but you're continuously texting, sending WhatsApp to people. You're practicing Mauna Vratam. That is not Mauna Vratam. Real Maunam, the real silence is your ability to refrain from expressing your thought, because the nature of the mind is that it's keep bringing up thought after the other. So a Mauni is able to live on his own. Although he is alone, a bhakta doesn't feel lonely inside. Once a couple were practicing Mauna Vratam, the vow of silence. So the husband they were practicing Mauna Vratam for a few days. He had to catch a flight next day morning at 7 o'clock. So he wrote a message to the wife that, listen, I need to catch a flight at 7 o'clock. Please wake me up at 5 o'clock. That was the message in the note. Next day morning, 5 o'clock, the wife left a note on his bedside. It's 5 o'clock. Maunam. That is not Maunam. You can't be upset. It is your ability not to allow the thoughts to manifest. As a human being, on a normal course of a day, you are susceptible to go through over 80,000 thoughts, one after the other. The ability to stop the continuous flow of thought, that is meditation. If you're able to arrest the thought and reduce the number of thoughts, and what's more, the thoughts consume a lot of energy, especially stressful thoughts. Negative thoughts, anger, jealousy, arrogance, vanity, pride, they're all negative thought that consumes a great deal of energy. So therefore, silence of the mind that he's talking about, not just physical. Of course, you refrain from talking as a barrier for expressing the thought. Silent, content with anything. Santushta, content with anything. Again, the contentment here is talking about is not aspirationlessness. A bhakta understand, and he keeps focusing upon the blessings. He keeps counting the blessings, and then he feels that my blessings are so much compared to a few things that we don't have. When your focus is upon what we don't have, we always remain discontented. When the focus is upon what we have and what we have at any given time, the desires that you have fulfilled is much more than a few desires that is in your mind that is unfulfilled. And yet our focus is upon what we don't have. That creates a lot of discontentment. Contentment is a state of mind. The opposite of contentment is greed. That is if only syndrome. A man in the street who has no legs to walk around, he believes happiness is in having two legs. He looks around people walking comfortably and he says, if only I had two legs, how happy life would have been. He suffers from if only syndrome of not having legs. Ask a man who's got two legs. He walks to work every day 1 hour. He says, if only I had a bicycle to ride, life would be easier. Ask a man who's got a bicycle. He says, a small car, even a used car is fine. An old car is fine. And ask a man who's got an old car. He wants a new car, a better car. Ask a man who's got a new car. He wants a bigger car. Ask a man who's got a bigger car. He wants a custom-made car, customized car. Ask a man who's got a custom-made car. He wants a helicopter, and the list goes on. That is the if-only syndrome that we suffer from. The moment your if only if is fulfilled, comes the next fatal conjunction. But if only I had a job, how happy I would have been. The moment you get a job, I got the job, but the boss is a terrible man. Ask a man who wants to get married. If only I got married, how happy life would have been. The moment he got married, I got married, but she's nagging. There's always a but. The two fatal conjunctions, if only and but. A devotee has trained his mind not to suffer from this two fatal conjunctions of if only. As a result, he is content with anything. Yena kenachit. It is not false contentment. It is what Englishman calls pig's contentment. So that he understands that life has to grow. There has to be effort and competition, not a negative competition, not unhealthy competition. True competition is when you compete against your own weakness. Homeless, aniketa. Niketa means home. Aniketa means homeless. Don't take this quality literally and sell your home and be in the street. No. Homelessness that is referring to is not in the sense of a bhakta who doesn't have a home. Niketa means possession. Remember, your home is the magnet of possessions, possessiveness. The nature of the mind, if you have a home, we have a tendency to go on accumulating, hoarding possessions in the house. And we keep stacking every crevices and corners and smallest of space we have. We keep stacking things that we don't need. If you don't believe, watch this program. In America, there's a program called Hoarders. It is mind-boggling what mind can do by go on hoarding, accumulating. You see it in the Hoarders program. A person can have a house, but in that house, the person stocks every little space with useless things. Doesn't have space to move around. That is what he's talking about. That attitude of dispossessiveness in your possessions. You can have possessions, but not beyond what we need, and then no possessiveness. And then he says, stiramatihi, one whose mind is stable, stira. As I told you, the mind is compared to a monkey. Monkeys have got two natures. One is the mind, monkeys are very possessive. The second tendency of a monkey is restless nature. That is why in Ramayana, there are so many stories relating to monkeys. Vanarasena. Rama used the monkey force to conquer Ravana, to indicate that you got to use the thought force to conquer the enemy with it. Monkeys are very restless in nature. Similarly, our mind. Keep regret, it's running into the past and future. That is, regrets of the past and anxieties of the future. That's the nature of the mind. Even here, as you are listening to me, the mind, you listen to me for a minute or two. After 2 minutes, your mind suddenly think about what happened last week. And you go along with the thought for a long spin. After 20 minutes later, if I suddenly raise my voice, say, oh, let me hear what he has to say. You listen to me for a minute or two and then goes to the future. That's the nature of the mind. Keep jumping past future. Very rarely the mind stays in the present. But a bhakta, a devotee, is one who has trained his mind by reducing his desires to be able to keep the mind in the present. Stiramatihi, to whom censure and praise are equal. Silent, content with anything, homeless, steady-minded, full of devotion. That man is dear to me, says Bhagavan Krishna. Then he continues in the 20th verse.
Yetu dharmyamritamidam.
Yetu dharmyamritamidam.
Yadhoktam paryupasate.
Yadhoktam paryupasate.
Shraddhadhanamat paramaha. Shraddhadhanamat paramaha. Bhaktaste diva me priyaha. भक्तास्तेतीव मे प्रियाः.
The very last words, he says, Ye tu dharmyamritam. They indeed, those seekers, spiritual seekers, indeed who follow this immortal dharma, dharma amritam, eternal dharma, sanatana dharma, immortal dharma, meaning this is applicable to all people, regardless of any discrimination of caste, creed, color, community, nationality, or religion, at all places, regardless of any location or continent, at all times. It was applicable thousands of years later. It is applicable now. It will continue to be applicable thousands of years later. Just as the law of gravity, before Newton even discovered the law of gravity, the law of gravity was functioning. If the entire humanity were to forget the law of gravity, the law of gravity will continue to function. Therefore, he says, they indeed who follow this immortal dharma, as declared, endued with shraddha, faith, and regarding me as supreme, those devotees are exceedingly dear to me. What kind of devotees? They who follow this eternal dharma. It is, as I told you, the philosophy of Vedanta, the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita is the ultimate, is the last hope for humanity. To understand the eternal, timeless principles that he's talking about. It's timeless. There's no specific time this is applicable. Eternal dharma, as declared, meaning these 35 qualities, every human being need to know. It's not about Hinduism now. Not hating anybody. Not becoming possessive. Does it matter whether you are a Hindu or a Christian or a Muslim or a black or white or a colored or whatever? Doesn't really matter. Therefore, it is universally applicable. Endued with shraddha, with sincerity, with conviction, not casually. When you're listening to it, you listen to it. Not you listening very casually, very informally. You're serving your food and your wine is being served and everybody is eating, and sit there and let's see what this guy has to say. That is not it. Not that casually. You finish all that nonsense before and then sit with your pen and pad. With that devotion, you sit there and listen to what Krishna has to say in the Bhagavad Gita. Shraddha, faith, endued with shraddha, regarding me as supreme, regarding the self, God, the Paramatma, the supreme reality as a supreme. Those devotees are exceedingly dear to me. Bhaktaste ativa me priyaha. So those who understand, those who pursue with shraddha, they have a clear purpose. They know what is the purpose in life. They also know what is the purpose of life. And they follow this so meticulously, not casually. When it comes to punctuality, in terms of every aspect of it, they do it. Such devotees are exceedingly dear, says Krishna. They indeed who follow this immortal dharma, as declared in these 35 qualities, endued with shraddha, faith, and regarding God, the self, the supreme. If you can't conceive God, the supreme Paramatma, relatively speaking, focus upon higher values of life. If you still can't focus upon the higher values, focus upon your own spiritual development, your own inner development. Focus upon making yourself a better human being. at all levels of your personality, at the physical level, at the emotional level. Your emotions are pure. Ego is under control. Your thinking faculty is clear. All right. Regarding me as Supreme, those devotees are exceedingly dear to me. That concludes the discussion of the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The last doha, that the mantra is Om Tat Sat Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Supanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Bhakti Yogo Nama Dvadashodhyayaha. Om symbolizes that it is a symbol of the supreme reality. Om symbolizes the underlying substratum of the entire creation. Om, that is real, meaning that supreme Brahman alone is real, nothing else. Thus, in the Upanishads of the glorious Bhagavad Gita, this Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the essence of the Upanishad, watered down such a way that it is applicable to our day-to-day life and living. Therefore, the message of the Bhagavad Gita and Upanishad is the differences that Upanishads focus upon the highest supreme reality, whereas the Bhagavad Gita relates to our day-to-day life and living. Thus, in the Upanishad of the glorious Bhagavad Gita, the science of the eternal, all right, it is the science of the soul. It is science of the soul, the Atman, the eternal self, the scripture of yoga, the yoga shastra. Yoga, as I told you, union with God. Yoga Shastra, Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade, the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna. Bhakti Yogo Nama. This chapter is called Bhakti Yoga. Dvadasho Dhyayaha. The 12th chapter ends. The tradition in the Bhagavad Gita is the title of the chapter comes at the end, not in the beginning. All right. Having read through, you understand, oh, this is Bhakti Yoga. That concludes the discussion. As I told you, those who are interested to continue the study, contact us. We have weekly sessions going on. And those of you want to get hold of some of the books and CDs, etc., you could visit the Life Mastery Foundation website, as it was announced earlier. And on that note, I want to say thank you all for joining us in these 7 days, discussing these 12 chapters. It's been a great experience, no matter which part of the country or the world you're sitting. I'm not able to see you, but definitely I'm not able to connect with you. It is your sincerity, regardless of which part of the world you're sitting, whether I know you're sitting, reach out to you with that sincerity. Thank you. We'll conclude with the Shanti part. Om Tatsom Purnamata Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamataya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. I'll be speaking to you tomorrow, Krishna Janmashtami, birth of our dear Lord Krishna, Nandalala. Very affectionate terms we all call. So what exactly is the role of Krishna in the battle of Kurukshetra? That is going to be the topic. I'll be speaking to you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Angajan ji. Tonight's discourse was filled with such important lessons and practical tips. If there is one of many teachings we can take away from tonight's divine discourse, it is the importance of prioritizing and allocating your time towards growth and development with single-pointed focus, without being distracted by the worries, anxieties, and stresses of life. The only way to prosper is to invest and dedicate consistent time to your spirituality, as this helps to calm the mind and develop a clear intellect. Remember, devotees, all this beautiful knowledge requires you to revisit the teachings and, most importantly, to put this into practice in our daily lives. Therefore, if you wish to delve further into this profound knowledge, which has so beautifully been synthesized into pivotal topics by Sri Angajan ji, please do visit our website for different CDs, DVDs, and books. As mentioned in the introduction, dear devotees, I'm sure we can all definitely appreciate the time and effort that goes into putting together such a power-packed program of this nature, which we are so lucky to receive from the comfort of our home by merely logging on to YouTube. So let us show our appreciation by offering voluntary Guru Dakshina in the form of cash donations so that the great work of Angajanji and the Life Mastery Foundation can continue. No amount is too small to make a difference. All details regarding the website and Guru Dakshina are displayed on the screen. A kind reminder that Angajanji will be delivering a very special Shri Krishna Janmashtami discourse tomorrow. The topic will be the role of Lord Krishna in the Kurukshetra war. So please do join us at 7 p.m. on YouTube. Once again, thank you for joining tonight. A blessed evening to you all. Stay safe and Hari Om.